Yeah, yeah.
Shravan will share the PPT. You just present, okay, Tanish?
Yes, sir.
So for the undergraduates and even for the PGs, mass per abdomen is a commonly kept case. So approach is important in this case, not the diagnosis per se. Okay, there will be always difference of opinion in these cases, but how is your approach? What's your clinical findings? That will be assessed. So be prepared for that.
Is it visible?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir. Is it
Go to
visible?
next slide. Yeah, start, Tanish.
Here is a patient X whose age is 65 years. He works as a car driver. So he lives in Indranagar, Madikeri. He belongs to lower middle class according to modified Kuppuswamy classification. And he has studied till 10th standard. And he was admitted on 12th February. And we have examined him on 14th February. So history was given by the patient. So he presented with the chief food since 6 weeks and mass per abdomen since 1 month. History of presenting illness. He was apparently well 2 months back. So he had bulging and fullness of stomach after food. After 1 week, it was replaced by pain and vomiting after meals. The pain is felt in abdomen above umbilicus, so that is upper abdomen. It is dull aching throughout the day, not disturbing sleep, aggravated when food is taken. So the pain radiates to left shoulder since 2 weeks. It is experienced with all type of foods. Vomiting does not relieve the pain. Patient eats less for the fear of pain. The vomiting is non-projectile, non-bilious and contains undigested food. Simultaneously, the patient noticed a mass above the umbilicus, which is constant in size for over last month. There is history of anorexia and recent weight loss of 5 kg in last month. No history of diabetes or hypertension. No history of fever, jaundice, generalized itching with rash, bleeding per rectum or melena, hematemesis. Past history, no surgeries in the past, no history of chemotherapy or radiation in past, no history of drug allergies. Personal history, he is non-alcoholic, but he smokes 8 to 10 cigarettes per day for last 30 years. As we know, in India, each pack contains 10 cigarettes, so pack here can be taken as 30. And he is non-vegetarian, appetite is reduced, regular bowel or bladder habits, and sleep, adequate sleep. Family history, no history of similar complaints in the family, no history of peptic ulcer, carcinoma of stomach, and blood disorders in the family. So the summary, an elderly old patient presented with chief complaints of pain abdomen since 2 months, vomiting after food since 6 weeks, and mass per abdomen since 1 month. The pain is felt in upper abdomen, dull aching, radiating to left shoulder, and aggravated when food is taken. There is history of anorexia and recent weight loss of 5 kg last month.
Very good. So go back to the first slide. So what do you think at the end of the history? What's your probable thinking?
Sir, according to history, it is suggestive that it might be a carcinoma stomach or a posterior. So we see that there is pain. There is a pain and lump in the epigastric region, and also this pain is radiating towards the back. So, and we have seen that the pain is not relieved by vomiting. So, if at all we consider firstly as gastric ulcer, but we know that pain is not relieved after vomiting, we can say it is a posterior penetration of ulcer, or it might be a gastric carcinoma, or it might be an acute exacerbation of ulcer.
Tanishq, can I come in?
Yes, sir.
When,
Yeah, we will see to that. Okay, about the diagnosis later. Go back to the first slide.
Yeah.
Patient's particulars, Tanish.
Okay. Yeah,
Can you please tell the
we'll get to this point
significance
at the
of
end of
each
history.
related to your case here? Whatever the case history you have, why
Yes,
you
sir.
have asked about the each points here? Is it got any gender predilection, age predilection, occupation, anything significant to
Yes,
your
sir.
case?
Sir, age,
Can you be a little louder, Tanish?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, age is also very much important, as we have seen. After about like 55 years, so carcinoma becomes very much like predominant in people. So here the age is more than 55 or 65 years. So
Don't try
occurrence
to
of malignancy.
explain. Just be specific answering. Okay, while
Tanish,
answering, don't try to
Tanish,
teach or
I will break.
explain. Yeah.
Kishan,
Ah,
I'll break it.
yes, sir.
Tanish, I will tell you a few things.
Yes, sir.
See, you are trying to present a case of carcinoma stomach.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So
Yes,
you should present a case of mass abdomen.
Mass per abdomen.
Okay. From
Got
the
it.
history itself, you are talking about malignancy. See, examiner, there is no need for any examiner to argue with you or to question you and make it a difficult point. They have to just ask whichever is your not so great point. Means by this time, even we have not started the case itself, I know that you are well prepared for carcinoma stomach. So what do? I just avoid asking carcinoma stomach. That's all. You are just like something like duck out, So usually that should not happen. You should not let the examiner know what is your most strongest point, and that is the only point usually you will have.
Okay, sir.
Be
Okay,
open, sir.
your,
What sir means is be open-minded.
here
Okay, be
in
flexible to all diagnosis. Yeah.
This is too early to consider carcinoma, ulcer penetrating the posterior surface. That's all uncommon things, very late things. Means if I just ask
Some
pain
GI
is
pathology,
radiating to
okay?
back, first thing when pain abdomen radiates to back is cholecystitis or pancreatitis.
Pancreas.
So if I ask anything about pancreatitis, you are mentally not prepared. I'm not telling that you are not read or anything, but you are not prepared for that line of questions.
Yes, sir.
So every now and then it keeps to discussion. It comes in discussion that pancreatitis, it can also be in pancreatitis, it can be in pancreatic tumor. So the line of discussion goes somewhere else. So you should try to avoid doing that things. Okay, you have put chief complaints. See, what I tell is always there is something called KISS principle. Keep it simple.
Short and sweet.
Okay, keep it simple and straight. So what I am telling is we don't call abdominal lump. Lump. If you tell lump in the abdomen, nobody is going to fail you. That much I am sure. But lump is a terminology used in US countries. Asian countries, we use mass abdomen. By default, lump in the breast, swelling in the peripheral part or which is outside the body, outpouching, and mass in the abdomen. That is routine. That is one thing. And in chief complaint, you did not mention what is the duration of the.
Sir, he has changed that, sir. Hey, he has changed now, sir. I have I told him now that mass he has changed and duration he has put, sir. The PPT which I had sent you that had some mistakes.
Okay. Yeah, fine. Then I saw there are a lot of words like it was replaced by vomiting. All that is all changed.
Correct, sir. Yeah, corrected now, sir.
Yeah.
So
Because
what's
I
your
didn't
thought
get that
process
PPT.
now? Tanish, with these chief complaints, pain in the abdomen since 2 months, vomiting for 6 weeks, and mass per abdomen since 1 month. When he tells these complaints, what's your thought process now? What's in your mind with these just complaints?
Sir, I would think peptic ulcer.
Peptic ulcer. Okay, why?
Sir, because in peptic ulcer there will be pain in abdomen and also there will be vomiting.
Okay.
Kishan,
again, Tanish, you are only zeroing on only one diagnosis.
Okay.
See, this is only history. Okay. Pain abdomen is in the epigastrium, is it not?
Yes, why mass in peptic ulcer? Can you please substantiate? You may be right. You're right. Tanish?
Yes, sir.
Why mass in the peptic ulcer? Mass per abdomen? See, all three features are there. No, in peptic ulcer, why? Yeah, they can get mass per abdomen. You are right. Can you tell why?
Okay, Kishan, can I come in 1 second?
Yeah, please.
Okay, first and foremost, I don't think it is right to ask him what is your diagnosis at the end of chief complaints. Okay.
Okay. No, what's the
Pain,
thought process?
vomiting.
I'm asking.
No. That's what I'm saying. Pain, vomiting, and mass can be present even if it's a liver mass, even if it's a pancreatic mass, if it's a GB mass, even if it's CA pancreas, periampullary cancer, CA stomach. Okay. So all you have to say, Tanishk, is that it could be something to do with the abdominal organs, and with further history, like in the history of presenting illness, we'll try to arrive at a diagnosis or a provisional diagnosis. Okay. Don't directly jump to the diagnosis of peptic ulcer. You have to take lots of things into consideration. When you said age 65, you directly said age 55 and above is cancer. There is no hard and fast rule that it has to be 55 years of age. Probably for carcinoma stomach, it is 55. All you have to say is, sir, in elderly, they are more prone for malignancy.
Yes, sir.
That's all. Okay. Yeah.
And mass per maybe because of pyloric stenosis. Okay. For chronic ulceration can lead to pyloric stenosis, and they can present with mass. Okay, we'll go to HOPI.
Okay, sir.
Sunil sir, anything
Yeah.
in HOPI you want to?
No, that's what the slides I got was a little earlier. So only thing I noticed was it was little haphazard. As I was telling, you
No, it's all
concentrate
corrected, sir,
on the mass. It is little difficult to get pain abdomen in carcinoma. Actually, carcinoma pain abdomen is little later feature. Suppose if the diagnosis is carcinoma stomach, usually the first complaints they get is more of dyspeptic symptoms plus fullness. That is one thing which they get. That will be chronic in nature, and then recently all these pain, vomiting, all those things. See, if, by the time
early
they get
satiety.
vomiting, the lumen should be significantly narrowed, and the
Yes, sir.
pain is not the first symptom. Mucosa,
Yes, sir. Yes.
if something happens to mucosa, submucosa, you won't get pain. Your history, pain is the main complaint. It might be presenting complaint, but not so no early complaint. That is one thing. After that, everything is fitting well.
Okay.
Don't keep only one diagnosis at the history level. You just go, mass abdomen is there, there is vomiting. So you are thinking in terms of GIT, most probably, because see, vomiting and pain abdomen comes in cholecystitis also, pancreatitis also.
Yes,
Okay. So along with mass,
Yes, sir.
so mass rules out some things like cholecystitis. Still means you cannot tell that there is no mass in cholecystitis, but you have to keep in mind. But probably the line of the order comes down. The cholecystitis comes down. So then you can proceed like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Dr.
Okay.
Nishant, anything to add?
Yeah. Tanishk, we'll go line by line, whatever you have said. Okay. You said that patient has vomiting after meals. So first I would like you to fill me up on the vomiting before you go to the next symptom. Because you have said that is the earliest symptom according to you. He was 2 months back.
Pain.
After that, there was fullness of stomach, followed by which it was replaced with pain and vomiting. Pain you have described, I have nothing to say about the pain. It is a very vague terminology which is not characteristic to any particular organ. Okay. So now, please describe about the vomiting.
Sir, vomiting, it is non-projectile and non-bilious. And
Okay.
also, he had nausea before vomiting.
Okay.
Then,
How?
Why is that nausea important to you, Tanish? Is there any significance for nausea?
sir, I've not mentioned over here, but usually non-projectile vomiting will have nausea earlier.
Here means I don't think there is any relevance for nausea here.
No, I'm not mentioned,
Yeah.
sir.
What is means vomiting means what are the points you should tell as a history? One is okay, projectile, non-projectile, okay. Bilious, non-bilious, you're told.
Non-bilious.
What is the content?
Content, if it contains food or not. Undigested food.
Here, what it is containing?
Undigested food, sir.
Yeah. Now you are thinking in terms of malignancy also. So what you would like to know the content? even if it for that your one more diagnosis was peptic ulcer, what can happen along with the vomiting? What else can come?
Along with vomiting, hematemesis.
Hematemesis, any sign of blood. It might be the streaks of blood, or it might be altered colored vomitus, or frank blood. If it is there, quantity. And mainly, most important thing is timing of the vomiting. You rightly told that vomiting occurs after food.
Yes, sir.
And every time he eats food, he is vomiting. So that might be one thing that over the time he also feels hungry, so he tries to eat. And you did not tell vomiting is associated with pain. So you just have vomiting. Okay. So after how much time after taking food, the vomiting is there. So
Okay.
no, what history you got from this patient? The timing is very important. Immediately after taking food, like while taking food only, he gets up and goes to washroom and vomits. That is one type. Another type, he has food. He just finished dinner and probably within half an hour or something, he gets vomiting. Or he eats food, waits for some time, watch some TV serial or something, and within like 1 or 2 hours after food, he vomits. What is the type of vomiting you got in the history? You are not taken that particular history, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Tanish, can you at least tell us what is the importance of those 3 points, whichever sir said? See, what sir asked is, as soon as he eats, if he vomits, even before he finishes food or something, if he vomits, what is it called? Is there any other terminology for that? Okay, what is regurgitation? Okay, anyone in the chat section can, if you can kindly answer. Okay, I'll give you the answer. Regurgitation is basically where there is blockage or there is obstruction above the gastroesophageal junction. So it is an esophageal symptom, okay, where the patient will have undigested food. The minute it goes into the stomach and if the patient vomits within half an hour, then you are going to have semi-digested food. And like sir said, sometimes they'll vomit after a long time. So can someone in the chat section or Tanish, either one of you answer, what is the difference between patient vomiting within half an hour and patient vomiting after a few hours after taking the food? Okay, see, the point is whether it is malignant or whether it is benign. Okay, we're talking about gastric outlet obstruction. So he said it is non-bilious. If there is bile, that means obviously some content is coming from the duodenum to the stomach. If it is non-bilious, that means it is purely a gastric outlet obstruction and the contents are coming out. So next point is the type of obstruction. Is it a malignant obstruction or is it a benign obstruction? If it's a benign obstruction, it usually takes place over a long period of time. Okay, so the stomach has quite an amount of time to get distended. Once it is completely distended, then he goes and vomits. So it takes place after a few hours. If it's a malignant obstruction, what will happen? The cancer would have already spread through all the muscles of the stomach. So the distensibility of the stomach will not be there. So the patient within half an hour, he'll feel early satiety or early fullness and he'll go and vomit. Okay, so that is the difference. And Tanishk, you have written here, vomiting, a patient eats less for the fear of pain. Is there a terminology for that?
Terminology.
Have you heard of something called cytophobia?
No, sir.
Okay, that is called fear of eating. Okay, any idea which condition it's commonly seen in?
Gastric ulcer.
Hey, no man. It's usually seen with, okay, yeah, probably gastric ulcer, but it's more commonly seen in a condition called as chronic mesenteric ischemia. Okay, where first of all, the blood supply to the intestine will be less. So when he eats, what will happen? The intestine will try to take in more blood supply in order to digest the food. So it acts as, so when the blood supply is less, no, the intestine will have ischemic pain. It is also called as abdominal angina. Okay. Yeah. I think you can, sir. Anything else to add, sir? Sunil sir.
Yeah, I think we'll go.
Yeah, you can go to the
Lot
next.
of things to discuss.
Yeah, we can go to the next slide, Tanish.
Tanishk, one thing you asked, there is no history of fever. Suppose
Yes,
he had told, yes, I had fever. What was your inference?
sir, I would think of hydatid cyst, because in that also, or infection, any another infection, or like subacute like perforation of peptic ulcer, there also there will be fever. Then amoebic liver abscess, there also there will be fever.
Sure.
And
Okay, that should be. You have asked about no surgeries in past, is it not? What
Yes, sir.
surgeries were you interested in?
Sir, if it was gastrectomy,
Gastrectomy and okay, fine.
then
That was probably the last option I would have expected. Okay.
other surgeries.
Yeah, tell me. Correct. Your line of thinking is correct.
No, sir, I have no idea.
No, I heard you telling some perforation.
Yes, sir, that is for fever, sir.
No problem, man. This is also even perforation closure is a surgery which
Okay,
is
sir, I didn't.
important for this thing.
Okay, sir.
There might be a malignant perforation. It would have been closed as benign perforation. Possibility is there. Even for any type of ulcers, some procedure has been done, and there is an entity called ulcer cancer. If
Ulcer
that
cancer.
particular surgery has been not completely done, the primary pathology still exists. It can still proceed. The pathology can proceed to cancer. That is the importance for things.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Tanish, why have you asked for fever in this patient?
Sir, I've asked for fever mainly for ruling out perforation of peptic ulcer.
Okay,
And
Tanish,
also,
let me stop you there 1 second.
okay, sir.
I understand. Okay, we'll repeat once more. Please get stomach out of your head.
Okay, sir. Stomach, I
Okay,
will leave out.
you're somehow completely biased towards stomach.
No, sir. Other thing.
Okay. If the patient has undergone a surgery for perforation, I would have expected you to write it in the HOPI. It will not come in the negative history.
Okay, sir. I will.
Okay, so tell me, why are you asking for fever apart from, and when the patient has perforation, you have written that he's got admitted 2 days prior and you're examining him 2 days later. Do you think you can take the history even after 2 days if there is a patient with perforation?
No.
It will be an emergency case, no?
Sir.
Okay, so now tell me, okay, first with basic complaints like mass, vomiting, and what is the other one? Pain. What are the other organs that you can think of?
Liver.
Okay, what in the liver?
Hydatid cyst or amoebic liver abscess.
Fair enough. Okay. And what about, okay, after liver, what else can you think of? Stomach, we already know what you're thinking.
Yes, sir.
Either in terms of benign or a malignant gastric outlet obstruction.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can it be something with the pancreas?
Yes, sir.
What is the pancreas?
Pancreatitis.
Will pancreatitis present with mass?
No, it won't
Mass
present.
forming pancreatic pathology.
Yeah. Think about it. What will happen after
What is the
pancreatitis?
commonest pancreatic mass you have seen in the words?
Pancreatic,
Something
sir?
which is not real.
Okay. Tanish, what happens after pancreatitis? There is some fluid.
Ascites.
Pseudocyst. That's what sir was asking. It is not real.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so pancreatic pseudocyst. What about lymph nodes? Can it still be
Yes, sir.
lymphoma with huge lymph nodes in the
Yes, sir.
abdomen?
Yes, sir. It can be.
Yeah, so there are so many causes for you to tell
Lymphoma.
for fever.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is what we want from you. Stop
Okay.
saying perforation. Okay.
Okay, sir. Sorry.
Okay. Why have you asked for generalized itching with rash?
Sir, urticaria is a sign of hydatid cyst. If hydatid cyst is present or any kind of infection, so there will be generalized itching in that particular person.
What is more common? For example, a mass in the abdomen with itching and jaundice.
Chicken.
Tanish, what I would suggest you is
But
don't
tea-
think of diagnosis and try to explain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. See, the mechanism is more important. See, here jaundice and itching comes because of biliary tree obstruction. It might be intramural, it is intraluminal, extraluminal. That is all different.
Okay.
Whenever it gets obstructed, whatever it might be. So it might be just cholecystitis or cholangitis or CBD stones. It starts from there. And it goes to any mass which is in that vicinity. It presses on it and it causes jaundice.
Okay.
We are not here dealing with medical jaundice. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Here that is important. So you already told liver is one of the DD in your thing. Pancreas is there. Stomach is there. All can cause jaundice. That's why you have taken the history. That should be your answer.
Okay, sir.
Any pathology in these three organs, if it gets enlarged and compressed on CBD, jaundice will be there and there will be itching. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So first thing, if somebody asks you itching, especially in surgery, tell obstructive jaundice,
Obstructive jaundice.
not urticaria secondary to hydrated cyst and all. Okay,
That's what. See, the minute you told urticaria, you went to medical side. Probably you thought of pre-hepatic, hepatic. So all those things will come and will confuse you, especially when you are in nearing exams. There are a lot of things you are reading, so there are a lot of confusions. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah. So one thing in family history, I would suggest you.
Yes, sir.
Family history, all of you are taking, but see here also you told rightly that there is no history of peptic ulcer in the family and no history of similar illness in the family.
Yes, sir.
What exact questions did you ask that person?
Exact questions.
He is what is his education level? 10th standard.
10th standard. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you ask similar history, means to know what is history. We came to MBBS. He is 10th standard. You asked what exact question did you ask that man? 65 years now.
Does your family mates also had suffered from like this pain along with vomiting after taking food?
Pain and vomiting, somebody they would have got already. That's what. See, this is. I am not telling that you are wrong. Majority of the things, what happens is you would have asked. Is similar complaints means you are from which state?
Sir, Karnataka, sir.
Karnataka. Okay. So you would have asked, "ಈ ತರ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮನೇಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಇದೆಯಾ?" And you would have asked, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is just like a passing on question. You would have asked, and usually you'll get an answer no, so you're safe. So suppose if that fellow is an inquisitive fellow and asks what exactly you are asking, you are already in a fix like this. Okay. So here, family history, you are interested to know what are the hereditary disorders which can affect in the families. That's what, is it not?
Yes, sir.
So you are right in asking peptic ulcer and carcinoma stomach. Also, in the reading carcinoma stomach, you would have read about a lot of syndromes. Is it not? And okay, let us not go into syndromes. Do you know what is P53?
P53, yes, sir. Gene.
Yeah. So everybody knows it. It is a tumor suppressor gene, is it not?
Gene. Yes, sir.
Which cancer it is important in? It is a non-specific gene. It can come in any cancer. Is it
any
not?
cancer?
Yeah. So suppose I am telling you this particular patient is having P53 alteration. Okay. So now you will be asking his son about his stomach only,
No.
or his father about his stomach only.
No, sir.
Yeah. So you don't know. Means asking about only stomach is very narrow-minded, and usually probably if you ask 100 questions like it, you will never get a yes answer for anything.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Even for this holds good in even carcinoma breast, which is more commonly hereditary. Is it not? So there also you will also read in the theory that the ovary is important, the prostate is important, everything is important, brain is also important. Everything you will read, but when you are reading BRCA, you will read about everything, but you will ask only about ನಿಮ್ಮ ತಂಗಿಗೆ breast cancer ಇತ್ತಾ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಮ್ಮಗಿತ್ತಾ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಗಳಿಗಿತ್ತಾ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಮುಗಿದೋಯ್ತು. What about father? Father also has something which is related to BRCA, you never ask. So those things, what I'm telling is, you ask about, you are particularly dealing with malignancy here. So here you ask them any cancer related issues in the family, any cancer related deaths or cancer related hospitalizations and deaths, unnatural deaths. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That gives more importance for the family history when malignancy is concerned.
Yes, sir.
But if you, as I told, you are an undergraduate, if you tell no history of peptic ulcer or carcinoma stomach in the family, you are a good student. If you tell that any cancer related history you have taken and you tell, you are a better student. Okay. Nobody is going to fail what you have put. I'm just telling because there are a lot of postgraduates also attending this session. So
Yes, sir.
for the sake of postgraduates. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Tanish, why have you asked for blood disorders in the family?
Sir, actually, I was ruling out mainly main thing I was ruling out over here was liver disorders. So,
Okay. So
like from that time, I was telling, means hydrated cyst is also very common, no, sir. So I did ask.
no.
but
See,
not-
my question is, what do you mean by blood disorders?
Sir, lymphoma, leukemia, all those. But
Okay.
those are also cancers. But
So are they very commonly are they so common that they're hereditary?
no, sir.
Yeah. So preferably, anyway, you shouldn't use terminologies like this saying blood disorders in the family. Like sir said, he's a 10th standard pass out. It will be difficult for him to comprehend that terminology. Even me, I couldn't understand what I've written. That's why I had to ask you.
Yeah. See, if you put as blood disorders, it is understood that you are asking about bleeding disorders. So I assume that you are in a locality where there are bleeding disorders which are very common. So I just kept quiet. Blood disorders does not really mean it is malignancy. I thought it is bleeding disorders. So I thought probably I should not go word by word. So I just.
Okay. Go to the next slide. This one. I think Shravan is handling the slides. Yeah. Can you summarize your history, Tanishq, fast?
An elderly old male patient present with steep complaint of pain abdomen since 2 months, vomiting after food since 6 weeks, and mass per abdomen 6 months. The pain is felt in the upper abdomen, dull aching, radiating to left shoulder, and aggravated when food is taken. There is history of anorexia and recent weight loss of 5 kg last month.
Okay, so what do you think your differential diagnosis are at this point of time?
Sir, I have to tell about stomach, but
Yeah, please tell. Now you can tell.
okay. Sir, first thing is there is pain, so peptic ulcer or gastric ulcer.
No, okay, now I'll stop you there.
Okay,
Can
sir.
peptic ulcer present with mass?
No, sir.
Hey, this one just
Now
told
only.
you.
Yes, sir.
But in this case, you're told that the mass is, and usually it is gastric distension which reduces after the patient vomits.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but in your case, you have said, I remember your slide saying the mass has been constant since the past 1 month. There is no change in size.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is ruled out. Benign causes ruled out. Okay, and you have said the patient does not have any fever. So all the inflammatory causes such as all your hydrated cyst and all are ruled out, or an abscess, whatever you are thinking of.
Yes, sir.
So this has to be more in terms of malignant etiology because there is significant weight loss.
Yes, sir. Weight loss.
Can it still be a pancreatic pseudocyst?
Pancreatic pseudocyst. Sir, like there is no diarrhea or frothy offensive.
No. That is chronic pancreatitis. Don't get confused.
Okay,
see, Tanish, what advice I will give you, if the examiner asks, can it be this? Answer is always yes. Okay. Can it be a brain tumor? Answer is yes. Explanation, you can give anything. Medicine is very funny thing. You can explain anything from anywhere. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, you can tell he had brain tumor, so he was taking continuous medication. Because of that, mass has come in the abdomen. There is nothing. Nobody is going to question it.
Okay, sir.
If the diagnosis is offered to you, just take it. Explaining or not explaining will not fail you or pass you, but leaving it is not a good thing. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, Tanesh. So keep two things in mind right now. It can either be a CA stomach based on your history. Rather than CA stomach, you're supposed to say gastric outlet obstruction.
Gastric outlet.
Obstruction. Secondary to either intraluminal or extraluminal cause. Intraluminal means something which is originating from the stomach itself.
Mhm.
Okay, in the form of cancer or something like that.
Okay.
Extraluminal
See,
means
why
like
so much importance is given here is, Tanesh,
Okay.
even at the end of your case presentation, your diagnosis cannot be a carcinoma stomach.
Okay.
Okay, it is still mass abdomen. The part is that mass. It is still gastric. All the symptomatology should fit into gastric outlet obstruction, probably due to it might be still chronic duodenal ulcer mass, or it might be malignant cause. Okay, even at the last provisional diagnosis, there the examiner will ask you what is your primary first thing in differential diagnosis. Then only you have to tell carcinoma.
Okay,
So
sir.
don't get fixed.
okay. For the sake of all the students there, what are the features of vomiting which suggestive of gastric outlet obstruction in your history? Because a lot of them are asking why can't it be related to intestine? That's why I'm asking you this question.
Non-bilious.
Okay, it is non-bilious and he's vomiting immediately after food intake and he's lost 5 kgs. So all these are suggestive of gastric outlet obstruction. Okay, if it is something down in the intestine, it will be bilious type of vomiting. Okay. Yeah, you go on to the next slide.
Examination.
Yeah.
The person is conscious, cooperative, and oriented to time, place, and person. He is medium built, with height of 165 centimeter. He is well nourished with BMI of 23 kg per meter square. He is sitting comfortably on bed while examining.
Go on, you finish. We'll come back to this at the end.
Okay, sir. His pulse rate is around 82 per minute in right radial artery, which is regular with normal volume and character. His blood pressure is around 130 by 80 in left arm supine position. His respiratory rate is 14 breaths per minute, thoraco-abdominal type of breathing. Then no pala, icterus, clubbing, cyanosis, or pedal edema, no generalized lymphadenopathy. On inspection, the abdominal counter is scaphoid, no
What is
generalized.
the chronicity of the symptoms?
Sir?
Chief complaints from 6 weeks,
2 months, sir.
2 months. Yeah, so 2 months. Because all the general physical examination is absolutely unremarkable. Means he is vomiting after every feed, but his BP is maintaining. He doesn't have pallor. Is it okay?
He might have pallor.
No, you should be very confident because see,
But
this
he's
is
not
the line of
discharging
thinking you should do while doing examination. Even if he has got normal non-anemic conjunctiva, you should make sure that either his history is not relatively correct, or you try to see him in a better light or something like that. This is how the examination goes. You are told 6 months, every meal he vomits after that. Is it not? There is no nourishment at all. So 6 weeks, if you don't eat anything, probably he might be drinking something. See, he is from a not a very urban metros, so he is not having protein shakes or high calorie diet and all. So whatever he is having, he might be taking that. Something like a ganji or something he might be taking. So he will have at least some tachycardia, some anemia, something will be there. So the importance is you should examine it properly. Okay. So what is the examination funda is the history should be pakka, means there is you cannot leave any stone unturned, and do relevant examinations. You cannot see whole DAS has full of examination. You should not do all head to toe. See, in the third term they would have taught you head to toe examination or hair to toenail examination. I personally have never done that. It is something like blessing in disguise. Nobody would have done it. Means you will not go hair, then eyelashes, then nose, how is the shape. Nobody sees. But suppose it is to tell that you should not miss, and you should do relevant things. You are expecting something in the face, like in thyroid. Suppose there is some changes happening in face, you should not miss the facial features. So that's what it means. So relevant examination you should do and come to a reasonably good diagnosis. that should be enough for a UG to pass an exam. So after that is only you getting more marks.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So GPE, I think you should concentrate a little bit more when taking some other case. Okay. Yeah. We'll go to systemic examination.
Sir, on full ಮುಗಿಸ್ಬಿಡ್ಲಿ sir. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ there are few more points. We'll start again
Yeah.
from first.
On inspection, the abdominal counter is scaphoid, no generalized distinction.
Manish, last time only I told systemic examination is a blunt end. You should tell per abdominal examination. What system? I don't know what the slide also does not tell.
Okay.
You should tell per abdominal examination. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
For abdominal examination, on inspection, abdominal counter is scaphoid, no generalized distinction. There is diffuse swelling in the epigastrium, which disappears on rising test. The skin shows no dilated veins or scars. Umbilicus is normal in position and shape. The abdomen moves well with respiration, no visible peristalsis or pulsation. Hernial sites are normal. Spine shows no deformity, no paraspinal swellings, no fullness of loin. Scrotum appears normal, no fullness or swelling in left supraclavicular group of lymph nodes. On palpation, no local rise of temperature. Mild tenderness 2 cm below the xiphisternum is felt, and no rebound tenderness guarding or rigidity. On deep palpation, a single intra-abdominal mass is palpable in the epigastrium, extending into the umbilical and right hypochondrium. The mass has a smooth surface, firm and non-indentable. The margin is well defined in lower half, but is hidden under the costal margin in the upper half. Finger can be insinuated between mass and costal margin, fixed in all direction and does not move on respiration. It exhibits transmitted pulsations of aorta, which disappears in knee elbow position. On palpation of rest of the abdomen, liver, spleen, and kidneys are not palpable. No other mass in abdomen. No expansile impulse over hernial sites on cuffing. Both the testes are in scrotum, normal in size and shape. No tenderness or deformity of spine. No renal angle tenderness or left supraclavicular lymph nodes are not palpable. On percussion, dull note over the mass, not continuous with the liver dullness. Upper border of the liver dullness is in the 6 intercostal space in mid clavicular line. The sphenic percussion is normal, no evidence of free fluid in abdomen. Normal on auscultation, normal peristaltic movement is heard. On other systems examination, CVS, normal heart rate and CVS examination, normal heart rate and regular rhythm, S1 and S2 sounds are heard. And on respiratory system examination, normal vesicular breath sounds are heard. And on CNS, no any neurological deficit present. Provisional diagnosis, 65-year-old male with intraperitoneal mass in epigastrium without lymphadenopathy, most probably carcinoma of stomach.
Okay. Yeah. Can you go back to the first slide of your examination, Tanish? First and foremost, in what position do you examine abdominal case?
Sir, in supine position.
Then why have you written sitting here? Correct.
Okay, but sir, but for general physical examination, written
Okay.
sitting.
For in this case, is general physical examination more important or per abdominal examination?
Per abdominal.
Okay. So then you should have mentioned the same thing before per abdominal examination as well. That you have taken a consent and you have asked the patient to lie down, you have exposed the patient adequately.
Prerequisite.
Correct, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, move on to the next slide. Here we have written BMI is 23. Just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I think there's nothing in the GP to be looked at. You can go on to the next slide.
No, one thing is in malignancy, some examiners expect you to tell performance status. Okay.
Last time.
So initially you put a modified Kuppuswamy classification and all. So I see when those things come, these things are expected from you. Okay. So there means you are making a diagnosis on the community-based social issues. Here, particularly for malignancy, these scores are there. And commonly, which is followed is Karnofsky score.
Karnofsky.
That is easy to remember. You should tell whatever it is. Okay,
Sure.
some examiners expect that. I don't know how many Tamil Nadu people are there, but if Tamil Nadu examiner comes, definitely he'll expect.
Okay, sir.
Okay, it is not derogatory for the state, but I also studied PG from Tamil Nadu only, so I know the examiners well there. So
Yes,
they
sir.
expect these particular things. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tanishk, you have written abdominal contour is scaphoid.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what is scaphoid, what is flat, what is distended abdomen?
Sir, we have to imagine an imaginary line from the xiphisternum to the pubic symphysis.
Okay.
If we view tangentially, if the
Mhm.
abdomen has a concave shape, so it is said to be a scaphoid. If it is flat or lying on the line, that imaginary line, so then it is flat or normal. Then if it is above that imaginary line, then that is distended, mainly in the supine position. This all in supine position.
Okay. You told the correct thing, but it's in a slightly more complicated way when you asked me to imagine an imaginary line. Okay. So you
Sorry.
draw a line from the xiphisternum to the pubic symphysis. If the abdomen is above the level, it's called distended. If it's at the level, it's called flat. Beneath the level, it's called scaphoid. What you said was correct. With a patient with BMI of 23, will you have a scaphoid abdomen? It is possible, but not routinely.
Okay.
Okay, generally they'll have a flat abdomen.
But
Now, okay, now in your examination, apart from one terminology saying there is diffuse swelling in the epigastrium, when you have told me that there is a swelling in the epigastrium, I expect you to tell me more about this swelling. Does the swelling move with respiration? Or can you see borders of the swelling? What is the skin over the swelling? What is the surface of the swelling?
sir, I've written on about the
No,
swelling
no.
only.
Yeah, I'm asking you on inspection only. In inspection,
Okay,
there is no, you have written everything else apart from what I need.
Okay.
Correct. No, swelling is the most important in this
Yes,
case.
sir.
See, otherwise, if you don't want to comment on it or if it is not very visible, just make a comment saying there is a fullness seen in the epigastrium, probably extending into the right and left hypochondrium, depending on the size. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
See, Tanish, already you have made two contradicting statements here. Abdominal contour is scaphoid. That should be a statement made on overall examination. Means if you see the abdomen, first thing you notice is either it is scaphoid or it is distended or flat. So when there is a swelling or when there is a fullness, it cannot be scaphoid.
Okay.
Okay. So that first line itself, you should tell there is a diffuse fullness or there is a fullness in the epigastrium. That is the shape of the abdomen itself is like that. Means you can tell rest of the abdomen is normal. That is later. Okay. What is Srinivasan's costal margin sign?
Sir?
Costal margin sign. Which book you read, Tanish?
Sir, Das, and along with that, I had read clinical surgery pulse.
Pearls. Okay. A lot of people nowadays have shifted themselves to one book called SRB. You know?
Yes, sir. SRP. But
Yeah, it is both used by UGs as well as PGs. So nobody knows whether it is a UG book or PG book. So there is
sir, I'm in
yeah.
third year, so I've not read SRB, sir. Still.
No problem, no problem. I just asked because it is published in that. There might be means something like this are there. There might be a question like that because he is also the Srinivasan's costal margin sign does not tell great things, but it is important for such things that if there is a mass and if you can see the costal margin evidently, that means he does not have ascites. It is more important in portal hypertension, but it holds good for any mass which is space occupying in that region. If you cannot see the costal margin, then that means it is distended or it has ascites. That's what it tells, the sign tells. Okay.
Okay.
So here you should have told there is a fullness in the epigastrium. Okay. When you cannot tell the borders, when you cannot see the borders, it is always better to tell fullness, not swelling. As I told earlier, like you can see borders for lipoma, sebaceous cyst, all those. You can tell exactly from this point to that point. It's 3 centimeter from this, 4 centimeter from this, midline to that. All those things you can call it as swelling. So one which protrudes outside the body, you call it as swelling. Okay. So here fullness, because it is only in the inspection. Even under palpation, suppose you cannot make out anything, then you can call it as diffuse mass.
Okay.
Okay. So that is okay.
And
Yeah.
what we
And
visible?
fourth point, umbilicus is, comment on umbilicus. What is umbilicus?
Sir?
What is your comment on umbilicus in this patient?
Sir, in this patient, the umbilicus is normal in position. That means it lies in the midway between Zippy sternum and pubic symphysis. So,
See, there is one thing. Why did I ask this question is, I expected to tell the same thing. I was seeing it anyway, but still, it is not umbilicus normal in position. There is nothing called normal position for umbilicus.
okay.
Okay, it is expected in central position, both sideways and craniocaudally. Not exact center, but it is centrally positioned, and the shape is usually inverted. So that should be your comment. What is Tanniol sign?
Laughing umbilicus.
No. So somehow you are going to medicine only.
Sorry, sir. But
Don't worry. I will not ask complicated question.
I'll
Simple
tell.
question. It is something related to position of the umbilicus. Suppose the umbilicus is pushed down. You
Yes, sir.
expect there
Ascites.
is occupying illusion. Don't ascites. Don't jump.
Yes, sir.
There is a mass in the upper abdomen. If there is a mass in the lower abdomen, the umbilicus is shifted to
Upper, sir.
cranial. That is towards the head. Suppose if you expect a mass in the right side of the abdomen, automatically the umbilicus shifted to the left. Though Tanniol sign was initially told for craniocaudal disposition, it also holds good for right and left side also. That is Tanniol's position, the Tanniol sign. Okay, that is important for here. So that is why umbilicus is commented as central and inverted, because it can be inverted in types of some hernias or portal hypertension, or one where there is intra-abdominal pressure is too much. There might be some variation in the umbilicus. There might be some types where the umbilicus is almost flushed with the skin and there is no umbilicus at all, means there is no scar. Okay, those things are there. So the avoid telling normal. There is nothing called normal in human body.
Okay.
It's always a range. It's always something like this. Okay, it is central and inverted. That should be your comment.
Okay.
And abdomen moves well with respiration is not a good comment to be told.
Sir,
Can you modify yourself?
sir, usually in peritonitis and all, like that localized
I
peritonitis.
don't want explanation.
Okay,
You
sir.
told abdomen moves well with respiration.
Okay.
If given a chance, will you modify something which is better?
Sir, I will remove that point.
Anyway, moves. What is there? Means suppose abdomen moves with respiration. You are telling moves well with respiration. Probably he is having tachypnea. That's what I understand.
Okay.
So your comment should be corresponding quadrants move equally with respiration. Okay, means the left side the hypochondrium and right side of hypochondrium are moving equal. See, hypochondrium and hypogastrium does not move equal. They are not corresponding quadrants. Okay. Obviously, upper part of the abdomen moves very well with the respiration. Lower part does not move so well with the respiration. So you should not tell abdomen moves well with respiration. That's a wrong terminology.
Okay.
Tell corresponding quadrants. How many quadrants are there?
9 quadrants, sir.
Very good. What is 10th quadrant?
10.
Anybody tell 10th quadrant?
9. Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. 4 quadrants. Okay.
So you got up. See how you get into a trap. So when anything is divided into 4, there will be 4 parts only. Quadra means 4 only. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it is for history. At layman terminology, you want to tell where is the pain. You tell right side, upper or right side lower, left side upper, left side lower. That's all quadrants. For you, it is regions, is it not?
I'm sorry.
So those things you should keep in mind when writing here. So abdomen moves well with respiration is not a good observation. You should tell corresponding quadrants of abdomen moves equally with respiration. Okay. And as pointed out already, you should tell if you are told there is a diffuse swelling or fullness in the epigastrium, you should tell in that region anything means obviously if there is a fullness, at least some stretching will be there, some skin changes will be there. So those things you should tell. Yeah. And you have written it no fullness or swelling in the left supraclavicular fossa, but while presenting you told no lymph nodes, lymphadenopathy in the supraclavicular fossa. Should avoid telling such things. There is no fullness means there is no fullness. Need not be lymph nodes only. Okay. So there is no fullness means there is no fullness. That's all you should tell. So there is no lymphadenopathy is a wrong thing to be told. Okay.
Yeah, Tanish.
Immediately in between spine has come. Why that spine has come?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Always finish off your abdominal examination before you put something else. You said hernial orifices accepted, fullness in the line accepted, scrotum accepted. All of a sudden, why have you brought spine into the picture? What deformity were you expecting in the spine?
Potts disease.
Why in this case were you looking for Potts disease?
Sir, it was given in the
Tuberculosis of stomach.
Tanish,
Are you looking for tuberculosis of stomach?
Yes, sir. That also. But
No, till now we have never discussed, so that's why.
sir, because it was given in book, like even spine
Tanish,
examination is important.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is important, but not in the abdomen.
Okay.
Yeah. See, sir already made a point. See, books may he's given you generalized information about mass per abdomen, but for a particular case, you need to decide whether it is relevant or not. Okay, you have said no visible peristalsis. What peristalsis were you looking for?
Sir, in case of pyloric stenosis, there will be peristalsis from left to right. In case of transverse colon, there will be from right to left. In case of iliac obstruction, so there will be step ladder
It's not
type of
iliac, ilium.
ileum. There will be step ladder type of
Okay.
peristalsis.
The first peristalsis what you spoke about, which is
Pyloric.
left to right. What peristalsis is it called? Is there a terminology for it?
Oh, no, sir.
It's called visible gastric peristalsis.
Only gastric.
Okay. Now, is visible gastric peristalsis seen with cancer or benign disease?
Sir,
Malignant or benign pathology?
obstruction.
It is obstruction can be in both benign and malignant. I am asking you, visible gastric peristalsis is seen more
Benign.
with benign or malignant pathology, and why?
Sir, in malignancy, there will be no peristalsis, sir, because
Why?
the function of the tissue will be lost.
Why?
It is extending into the muscularis externa where there will be nerve supply.
Exactly. Exactly. Correct. So there'll be infiltration into the muscle wall. So not that it will not be there, but the chances of you having peristalsis are very, very minimal. Whereas in a benign pathology, it is more likely because it's a chronic obstruction. It takes place over a long duration of time. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay. You can go into the. Why did you look for left supraclavicular fossa?
Sir, because the malignancy associated with stomach, intestine, or
Don't say stomach again. I'm telling you.
okay, sorry, sir. If it is
intra-abdominal malignancy.
malignancies,
Yeah.
there will, like, all those lymphatics will drain into the thoracic duct. That
Okay.
will go into left internal jugular vein,
Okay.
and that will have relation with left supraclavicular group of
If it is going into the internal jugular vein, why should the left supraclavicular lymph node get enlarged?
but because there will be draining, no, sir. Like
So,
both. So it will also be infected, that particular lymph node.
don't say infected now. We're talking about malignancy.
Infiltrated.
No, it doesn't get infiltrated. See, basically what happens, the amount of lymphatics going through this is so high and the lymphatic cells will be very large. So there'll be backflow.
Mm.
Okay, so there'll be backflow and the
See,
first
Tanishq, you
lymph
should
node.
know this discussion is because it is not in the line of flow. That is why we are discussing. Okay. Somehow I think you are not having an idea that it is not in the line.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, the jugular vein, what you told, does not drain the along with the abdominal contents. It will not drain the supraclavicular region. It comes there, but this will not go there. It is one-way traffic.
Okay.
Like the stomach lymph node cannot have a neck lymph node. It cannot cross the barrier. So here it crosses. That's why this particular question was asked.
Okay.
Okay, that is a most nearest lymph node station, which is along with this flow.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Go on to palpation.
On palpation, there is no local rise of
Yeah, it's
temperature.
okay. We have already presented once.
Okay,
Now,
sir.
first thing, in palpation, there is a mass, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the first thing to be told is about the mass. You have gone directly into tenderness, rebound tenderness, guarding, and rigidity, which is a completely different
Sir,
ball game.
Superficial palpation and on deep palpation, I have written, sir. That.
I know, Pa. So in deep palpation, what was the positive finding? We've already told you. First tell positive finding, then tell negative finding. Correct. So the positive finding on deep palpation was that there was an intra-abdominal mass. Okay, we'll come to your term. Yeah, on superficial palpation, can you get rebound tenderness, guarding, and rigidity?
Yes,
or is
sir.
it on deep palpation?
Like,
See, Tanishq, you should put the words in such a way that you can escape also. This deep palpation was unnecessary. You should have just omitted the word deep palpation. Any question you would have asked, you would have told, first I would comment on temperature and the tenderness, then I will go for mass. It's all over. Now unnecessarily you added deep palpation and all this discussion is coming. So somehow you are inclined towards general medicine. I can very well see it. You are not really bothered whether you are doing superficial palpation, superficial reflex, taking the chain key of the car and then stroking on the abdomen. Really, we are not checking that.
okay, sir.
Okay,
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Temperature, tenderness, yes, correct. Which is the first quadrant you would like to examine in the abdomen?
Not
Because
in this patient. In
this
general.
patient is there where you want to put your palm.
Right iliac fossa.
Okay. Suppose some other patient has got pain in the suprapubic region, where you want to put?
Away from that particular site.
Yeah, that should be your answer. Okay. Don't guess the quadrant and tell. Just
Okay.
tell the painful parts is the last thing I will examine with the patient. That's all. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tanishq, in a examination of a mass, what are the things you're supposed to talk about? What is given in DAS? What is the order? Yeah, tell. Site.
Site.
Next.
Surface.
Right. Before surface.
Where you left the size, man?
Size, shape, then.
Correct.
Where is the size?
Where is the size in your examination?
Sir, it was not visible. The upper part was
not
below
visible, Tanishq. We are in palpation.
Means it was like.
Fine, fair enough. Fair enough. So from Ziphisternum only, what was the size?
Okay.
You just written extending into the umbilical and hypochondrium, which is a vague terminology. Okay, I would have expected a size saying the lateral border on the right side goes so many centimeters from the midline. And the left border is another so many centimeters to the left of the midline. Lower border is either 10 centimeters from the Ziphisternum or 5 centimeters above the umbilicus or just at the level of umbilicus.
You should follow, man. Tanishq, there is no means this is not the ultimate thing that you are going to do, but every case you have to follow some principles that should be followed. Okay, what you practice later can be refined always, but principles, you have to stick on to principles. Okay, size, shape, extent, all these things you cannot leave. See, there are some people who tell size, shape in the inspection, and then all the inspectory findings are confirmed in the palpation. It's a very wrong terminology, especially when mass is concerned. What you see in mass is definitely different what you palpate. That is to be told something in a swellings like lipoma or sebaceous cyst or an ulcer. It is a terminology for ulcer. What you see is what you palpate. Except for tenderness and induration, there is nothing going to change in ulcer. So here and all you should not use. But here you totally missed. So you should definitely work on some size, shape, all those things. Okay. You have just told there is mass. Means you cannot imagine also what is that mass, what is the shape, what is it. Because earlier you are told diffuse, now you are told it is very distinct. And avoid telling this margin is hidden under the costal, all those things.
Okay.
Okay. See,
Yeah, you should use
right,
the
left,
terminology
and
upper
lower
border,
borders.
not made out.
Yeah, that's all. Keep it simple as possible. All these things, it exhibits transmitted pulses, all those things. No need to tell exhibit all those things. If there is pulsation, you tell there is pulsation, but it is transmitted, or the swelling itself is pulsed out. That's all. Simple. Don't add on the adjectives and make it more complicated.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay. What are the swellings which are indentable, Tanish? In a mass per abdomen, you said non-indentable.
It's a
Hello.
good point. You have taken a good point. You examined non-indentable. Suppose if there was an indentable swelling in that region, what will be your thinking? Which swellings get indentation in epigastrium? Which are the other indentable swellings you know?
Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Hello?
Tanish, tell. Did you hear the question?
What are the indentable swellings you know? Indentable. Indentation.
Sebaceous cyst.
Yeah. So here you have taken non-indentable. So what are the indentable swelling you would have got in this region?
In that. Don't know, sir.
Anybody in the chat guessing? Don't tell sebaceous cyst in the epigastrium. It will. I am telling mass abdomen, inside the mass, inside the abdomen. There is a transverse colon, is it not? Fecal material in the colon can get indented if it is staying for a long time. See, colon's physiology, the work of colon is to only reabsorb the water, mainly reabsorption of water. It does not secrete anything, so it does not add anything. Only some mucus might get secreted, otherwise, it does not secrete anything. It gets back everything. So, it makes the fecal material more solid. So, if the transit time itself is very long in some people physiologically, or due to some pathology, is transit time is peristalsis is very prolonged, or if he is taking some drugs which are inhibiting his peristalsis, it can stay for long. But the colon is doing other part of the physiology like reabsorption of water, so it can get more and more solidified in the transverse colon itself. At that time, we might even feel it as a mass. It is more commonly in pediatric age group. You can very well appreciate it. That there might be a mass-like thing, and mother comes with the child with a worried face and palpate. There will be indenting mass. It will be only fecal material. Okay. I thought probably you have mentioned it, so you'll be knowing it.
Okay, Tanish, before you think of saying sebaceous cyst, in the inspection, you've already said that it is inside the abdomen, no? That this mass becomes, reduces on head raising test.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So don't contradict your findings, that's all. Okay, now we have said that the upper half is hidden or it goes beneath the costal margin. But in the very next line, you have said that finger can be insinuated between the lump and costal margin. Can that be possible?
Sir, I've told about margin, sir. Margin cannot be defined in the upper half.
No,
Correct, man. Between the lump and costal margin means, what does that mean?
Sir, in some cases like splenomegaly and hepatomegaly, fingers cannot be insinuated. So the test was given, so written.
Yeah,
I
correct.
tried to.
The test you have done is correct only. What I'm telling is, it is to know the borders.
Mm.
If the border is continuous with the liver, then again that will get confirmed in percussion or auscultation later.
Mm.
So here finger can be insinuated. That means what? What is your inference in here? It can be insinuated between lump and the costal margin.
Sir, there is space in between. That's what.
Yeah. So costal margin means it is not the anterior posterior margin. It is the lower costal margin you are talking about, is it not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that means the in between the costal margin and lump means the lump is here and the costal margin is there somewhere.
Mm.
And you are insinuating the finger. That means you are feeling the border.
Mm.
You understand what I'm telling?
Mm.
Yeah. Because in the other finding, you told the border is not palpable, it is hidden.
Mm.
And now you are telling it is insinuatable. The finger is insinuatable. That both are contradictory. That's what I told. There are two contradictory in your first things only.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
There are masses where you cannot insinuate your finger.
Mm.
Then it gives more confusion that it might be a liver mass or it might be stomach mass.
Mm.
At that time, you will go and confirm which mass in the other part of the examination, depending on either symptomatology or other corresponding clinical examination. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So here either that is wrong or this is wrong. So since you are not taken size, probably we take it the finger is insinuated is correct,
Mm.
because you have made out all the well-defined borders and all. So it should be all borders are well made out. Probably you did not measure. Okay, you should measure.
Okay, Tanishk, you said the swelling or the lump or sorry, the mass does not move with respiration.
Mm.
Correct. Now, for once, I will come back to stomach. Does stomach move with respiration?
Yes, sir. It is related to diaphragm, sir.
Okay. So, what are the stomach masses that don't move on respiration?
If it is retroperitoneal.
Stomach
No,
masses.
no. I'm asking stomach mass which doesn't move
Okay.
with respiration. Yeah, tell the same thing. If the stomach
What you have
cancer
told
is
is
so much, so invasive that it invades into the retroperitoneum, it will not move with respiration.
Yes, sir. Mm.
Okay. And don't say it is fixed in all directions. Please use the terminology. There is no intrinsic mobility.
Mm.
Okay. There is one mobility with or movement with respiration, and the second is intrinsic mobility.
Okay.
okay. You examine now, Tanish. What was the approximate size, if you can recollect? What was the approximate size of the mass?
Mm.
Around, just whatever.
Approximately, sir, around 8 to 10 centimeter. 8 into 10 centimeter.
Okay. 8 centimeter is quite a big mass. So actually, if you would have done the mobility test properly, you would have got some mobility, definitely. Number
Okay.
one. Number two, when you would have commented that there is mobility, there is a possibility the examiner tells this is an advanced case, it is fixed, you cannot get a mobility. And for that, there is an escape route called treat-off mobility. Okay. But you have done ulta way, so there is no that line of discussion. Just for completion for other people who are participating, I'm telling, majority of the stomach masses are mobile with respiration, usually, and intrinsic mobility usually is exhibited unless it is very advanced, and those cases will be means too sick for examination. Actually, I can say, but large masses in the abdomen exhibit some type of mobility called treat-off mobility. That is, the base of that mass is fixed, and like a tree, the top of the tree is mobile, but the roots are fixed. Only the upper part which you are holding in your hand is mobile, and you feel that mass is mobile, but it is not a true mobility. That is called tree top mobility. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I
So how did
think-
you tell this is pulsations and all transmitted pulsations?
By doing two finger test, sir.
Where exactly did you see these pulsations? On the mass.
On the mass, yes, sir.
Okay. So already I told you don't add too many adjectives. This aorta, exhibition, all those things, putting knee elbow position, everything is totally not necessary at all. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So this is a mass, and as you told, it is 8 centimeter mass. It will be highly vascular, and it will be on all principal arteries for that matter. And any artery can have transmitted pulsations. You cannot tell that I am seeing aorta and it is transmitting all those things. So the
Mm.
clinical examination is mostly on the guesswork only. So no need to commit totally. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So if you can see or palpate the pulsations, you tell there are pulsations, but it is transmitted. That's all enough. Okay.
Mm.
And fixed, if the mass, any mass is fixed, always better to tell it is fixed to the underlying structures. No need to tell fixed to the spine, fixed to the pancreas, or anything for that matter. Not only this mass, any mass you want to comment, even for that matter, there is a lump in the breast, you want to tell it is a fixed lump. You should not tell fixed to the pectoralis or fixed to chest wall, all those things. It is fixed means it is fixed to underlying structures. Underlying structures, what are those? How did you test? All those things will be something else. Okay. Do not tell fixed to bone, fixed to all those things. Yeah. And time is going fast, I think. What is the time? Yeah.
No, sir, I think we have 2 more slides, and they've lost internet connectivity, and I'm trying to load the slides. I'm unable to do it.
Okay. So
Okay,
there
just-
are other things in palpation like rest of the abdomen is soft to palpate is a good observation, good comment to be done. No need to tell, means you want to tell that liver and spleen are not enlarged, it's fine, but you added kidneys for that. I don't know for what you add kidneys. Epigastrium and kidneys does not go very well. So do not. Is Tanishk is audible?
Yes, sir, I'm audible.
Okay. Because there is some internet issues. They are doing something. So no need to tell about kidneys. Okay.
Okay.
You want to tell hepatosplenomegaly, fine, because any malignancy, hepatosplenomegaly, you need to assess. So you are assessing. And in this particular case, it is a mass abdomen. So you need to assess any mass in the abdomen for that matter. It's not only liver and spleen. So rest of the abdomen is soft to palpate, and there is no other palpable mass. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Every word you should use. No other mass should not be used. No other palpable mass. You don't know. There are so many things. Means for UGs, if you tell you are not going to really pass or fail on these things. But as a PG, if somebody tells no other mass, it is only to be told when everything is exhausted. Means all the investigation has been done and there is no mass. There is no mass. Otherwise, there is no palpable mass. Okay. Yeah. No
And-
colonic tenderness. You are told. What is that colonic
Yeah.
tenderness?
Removed. Not written, sir. Like I've removed that.
Not written.
That is
Okay.
probably in the old one.
That means you first got colonic tenderness and Kishan removed it, is it? So what you wanted to actually tell?
Sir, actually, like there are many tenderness spots, sir, like McBurney's point, and also for
Why you
for
wanted to know
Diode.
that? Why you wanted to know tender spots?
If I have
Suppose
left
you
something.
got McBurney's tenderness, what great thing you would have achieved by that? That's what I'm asking. Is it not?
Sir.
That deviates the discussion to some other things. Means you are giving more food for the examiner for asking more variety of questions which you are not really mentally prepared for.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Don't give such things. See here, so, by starting only, you should have some things like liver, stomach, and pancreas. Fine. Along with that, you should have main thing is testicular tumors. Epigastric mass, this is the first 4 diagnoses you should keep in mind.
Mm.
Okay, yeah. So because you have put here both testes are in scrotum and normal in size and shape. So again I told there is nothing called normal size or shape of the testes.
Mm.
You are only comparing with your right and left. Okay,
Mm.
they are symmetrical. Main thing here. So what is the importance of testis in epigastric mass?
Sir, it can metastatize.
Yeah, so the metastatic deposits can be presenting as epigastric mass, very common thing because it is primarily intra-abdominal organ before it becomes extra-abdominal. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
So the lymph node basin always, Tavarmune is always abdomen only. So that's why it is very important. Here, more than that, it's normal size and shape. Suppose, yeah, shape, size, it can alter in malignancy. The testicular sensations will be lost in types in cases of testicular tumors. That is also important, which you have not mentioned here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So somehow you are more fond of spine and paraspinal spasm, all those things.
Sir, I've just written.
Okay, no problem. At the end of abdominal examination, if you tell spine examination normal, that should suffice the whole thing. Okay. They can ask, why did you examine? You can always tell, I wanted to complete, and there are some implications of spine in the intra-abdominal pathology also. I wanted to rule out. So those things. Otherwise, they will go on asking tuberculosis of stomach, what is the incidence, how many cases you have seen. See, these are the areas when they start looking at the internal examiners and tell, what sir, your student is doing like this. See, you might be telling right answer only, but when this particular dialogues are told, the confidence level almost drops like logarithmically. Okay, these things should not make you lose confidence. That's what I'm telling. Yeah. See, whole 4.5 years you would have prepared for this particular day, and that particular day should go as smooth as possible.
Yes, sir.
So even what questions we are asking and what questions whether you answered or not answered will not be asked there. Out of these so many questions, only probably around 5 or 10 questions you might get, but we don't know which 10 you will get. So we are trying to ask most of the questions so that you will get to know all the possible questions. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So percussion, you have done dull note, you got over the lump. That means.
Sir, it's a solid organ.
Yeah, it is. No, see,
No,
solid
not organ.
lump.
Solid
Yeah,
lump.
the mass is solid. That means what?
The mass is solid, so there will be resonance, no, sir.
Yeah, there it might be resonant also. Okay, you should keep in mind at this particular mass, you might get a resonant note which might not be really normal for all the rest of the abdomen. So that time you will get a little lower resonant note that is called impaired resonance.
Impaired.
Okay, that means there is air underneath and there is a mass over that. Suppose you imagine there is an anterior body, anterior surface of the stomach is having malignancy. Obviously, you will get impaired resonance. Okay, yeah. So like that in colonic mass also you might get impaired resonance. So here you have not got any resonance, so it might be dull. So it's not an issue because majority of the thing, the stomachs you are getting in the pyloroanteric region, entropyloric region. So majority of them will be dull only. Okay. Splenic percussion, okay, anyway, not necessary, but still.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Auscultation, you have missed is normal peristaltic bowel sounds heard in the abdomen, is it not? See, when you are told there is a mass in the epigastrium, auscultation means you have auscultated over the mass and all around the mass. That means rest of the abdomen. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Why do you auscultate over the mass?
Sir, any kind of murmurs or if it is heard, brew is heard.
Yeah. For?
If at all peristalsis is felt.
Peristalsis, okay, yeah. So you would like to know what sound you are getting, but here in malignancy, any murmur and all, see, last time only I told you try to avoid this word any. It's one of the favorite words for all UGs, but somehow try to avoid and practice without telling any. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So any extra sounds in the heart will called murmurs. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Same is extrapolated in some primary arteries like aorta or femoral artery, where you get some Nicolandi sign, some Branham sign, all those. Is it?
Yes,
Correct?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So some liver disorders are there which are very vascular.
Mm.
For that matter, you will by this time you will know all malignant tumors are vascular. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
There is neovascularization, unstopping
Mm.
nature of growth of cells will attract more vascular process. So there will be high vascularity. So there might be rich vascularity causing some sounds. So if it is arterial, or for that matter, suppose there is a hemangioma of liver,
Mm.
okay, it is in epigastrium. Still, it can be liver mass. If it is a hepatocellular carcinoma or hemangioma of liver, it still exhibits everything what you are told. It can press on the stomach and cause vomiting, pain, even for jaundice also it can cause anything. Okay. So if that is the cause, then you will get arterial, as you told, it can be bruit. It is called as bruit. If it is venous in origin, extra sound heard over any mass, and it is venous in origin. What is the terminology used?
Hum.
Hum, correct.
Mm.
If it is something like a capillary, means or substance of the organ itself. What is the terminology used?
This I don't know, sir.
Souffle. Have you heard of souffle?
No, sir. Souffle.
In OBG, you will be reading about uterine souffle, mammary souffle. In pregnancy, there will be hypervascularity in the breast and uterus. And it's called souffle. It is organ specific, uterine souffle and mammary souffle. So like that, it is organ specific sound. Okay. So bruit, hum, murmur, souffle, all these things are there. That is one thing in auscultation you should know. Plus, that mass is having any peristalsis or any extra sounds like this, you should know. Plus, rest of the abdomen. Plus, exactly this. You are more of thinking in terms of stomach, is it not?
Yes, sir.
So you should do what is called as ausculto percussion test. What is that?
Mm. Sir, they will measure the greater curvature of stomach via auscultation.
Yes. And what is
Like
that you do when you ask the patient to swallow some water and shake him? And you put your steth and listen to sounds.
sir.
What is that?
Mm.
Some splashing sounds are heard. Is it?
Yes, sir. Success and splash.
Yes,
Splashing.
succussion splash.
Splash.
Okay. These things you have missed. You should do it. These are to be done. And what are the prerequisites for this test?
Succession test.
Yeah.
I don't know, sir, because I have not done.
Yeah, you should do it for all epigastric mass, especially when you are thinking in terms of stomach. Okay. What is a prerequisite is you should not have had any more liquids or anything for that matter in last 3 to 4 hours. Because whatever he has already taken, like you would have examined at 11 o'clock or something like that, he would have already taken breakfast at 10 o'clock. And everybody means you yourself can test after dinner. You have after half an hour you put your stethoscope or epigastrium and you do some dunce. You get succussion splash. Okay, so that becomes false positive. So you should not you should not tell that patient has carcinoma stomach because of this. That's why it is told you should not do within 4 hours, because gastric transit time is 3 to 4 hours for majority of the foods. For fluids, it is little early. For solids, it is late. So last 3 to 4 hours, you should not have taken anything, and you should give some water, because for giving food you might vomit. So you should not give too much. Also, you should give some 2 glasses of water, and wait for few minutes, and then do succussion. How many minutes you will wait?
30 minutes.
Few minutes means it can range up to 5 to 30 minutes. So what is the ideal thing is, when you are taking history, you ask him to take some water. While doing examination, you examine the succussion span. That should be good enough, because usually if you give water, usually the water goes in the lesser curvature and passes within minutes. It won't be staying in stomach for long. But in pathology, means we cannot be sure that it has gone. So we have to give some time for the stomach, because it is already pathological stomach. So give some time so that it goes. Still after an hour it has not gone, means definitely it is pathological. That is the idea of doing it. And ausculta percussion, as I told, because from 2 months he is vomiting, and he is eating but vomiting. So there will be some adaptive measures taken by stomach. So if it is visible, it is good. Means what I'm telling is, if it is there, it is contributory factor for your diagnosis. It is a good point that if there is a gastromegaly, or the bladder curvature is larger than what is expected, then your differential diagnosis of pancreas or liver comes down. Is it not? Otherwise, always, pseudopancreas cyst, you cannot tell no. Even at the end, you cannot tell no. So these are the points. If it is there, you tell, sir, these are not there in the other things. So obviously, this is more of stomach. Then still, if the examiner asks, will you still keep those into differential diagnosis? Your answer should be always yes. I will keep them. I will keep them in differential diagnosis. I will work up, then make a definitive diagnosis. Okay, because ultimately at the end you are going to write provisional clinical diagnosis. It is not a definitive diagnosis. Provisional clinical, my provisional clinical diagnosis, or my differential diagnosis will be like that. Okay. So those are things you need to add up to your case history. Okay. Then other systems you mentioned, CVS, RS, CNS. So here external genitalia is important, and you should make an extra note on external genitalia, and should anyway you added in the systemic examination only. That's okay. So as I told, differential, you put already differential diagnosis, is it not?
Provision.
You made a diagnosis. What
No,
slide you put? I don't know. What I have got is differential diagnosis. Are you continuing with differential diagnosis?
Sir?
What is your diagnosis at the end?
Sir, it is probably a carcinoma of stomach, or it can be a malignant lymph nodes or lymphoma.
See, so what happens is, now you told of malignant lymph nodes. What do you mean by malignant lymph nodes?
Sir, it is lymph nodes are getting infiltrated, like because of malignancy.
What is that? What malignancy are you expecting there? That's what is
Sir,
lymphoma, is it?
yes, sir, lymphoma.
So you mean to say malignant lymph nodes and lymphoma are same? No. If you are telling yes, it is no. Okay. Lymphoma is different. Malignant lymph nodes are lymph nodes like secondaries. Okay, secondary deposits are called malignant lymph nodes. So you cannot put it as a same diagnosis. It becomes testicular tumor with secondaries in the epigastrium. That becomes a diagnosis. Okay. So he has come with a history of vomiting, pain, and fullness in the abdomen, mass in the abdomen. Okay. So as I told earlier only, it is a case of gastric outlet obstruction, probably due to carcinoma stomach. That should be your diagnosis. Okay. What are the other differential diagnoses? Obviously, you can keep it as a lymphoma. Why do you keep it as a lymphoma? As you already put, what point C in the whole history or examination, you never even touched anything about lymphoma. In between, so there was a lot of disruptions, so I did not want to make it more, so I just left it. When I asked a question about fever, you told hydrated cyst, okay, all those things, peritonitis, everything is okay. Lymphoma, one of the constitutional symptoms of lymphoma is fever, is it not? You did not give importance there. Then you never examined about lymph nodes of axilla, neck, inguinal. Without examining any other lymph node stations, only examining abdomen and thinking lymphoma is a very wrong thing. That too, 8 to 10 centimeter. No, no chance.
Sir, generalized lymphadenopathy was absent, sir. So I had examined cervical, axillary, and inguinal.
No. When you are giving a differential diagnosis of lymphoma itself in the diagnosis, you cannot tell I told in general physical examination. You should specifically mention that I examined all the lymph nodes and nothing was palpable.
Okay.
See, I also know that general physical examination, everybody tells there is no generalized lymphadenopathy, but put a palm on your heart and tell how many really examine all the lymph node stations and then comment that there is no generalized lymphadenopathy.
Mhm.
If somebody is telling yes, I do every time, I congratulate them, but I will tell them to continue. But most of them will not do generalized lymphadenopathy examination properly. Where they just do some do like this and then tell anything like this, nothing over. Okay, so to give differential diagnosis, you should not add differential diagnosis for the sake of adding it. What I'm telling is, if a differential diagnosis is there in the list, that means you should tell most of the points should be fitting to it, except one or two points which might be confusing. Like every clinical sign is fitting to lymphoma. Probably something like vomiting. Yeah, majority of the lymphoma you will not get vomiting until it is very late. Okay, lymphomas of GIT will not cause obstructive symptoms till very late, and they are very good tumors. So those are little uncommon situations where you get these things. So like that, you should have got all the signs for the differential diagnosis. Only one or two should be against it.
Okay.
Okay, just because you want to put differential diagnosis, you should not put. So here, suppose you wanted to put differential diagnosis, you should have put because of this proximity to liver, you should always think of stomach. Next differential diagnosis should come as liver and pseudopancreatic cyst, and then lymphoma. Unless it is very particularly telling that it is lymphoma, or very particularly moving towards pancreas, your order of things can change depending on clinical signs or history. But you should keep liver and pancreas always in mind in differential diagnosis. Okay. And as I told, CA stomach is not a diagnosis to be told clinically. Yeah. How do you manage? Suppose.
Sir, sorry, sir. Sunil, sir.
Yeah.
Shall we have this management part in a separate session, because it itself a big topic, sir? Can we have it in a separate session, sir?
Yeah, no problem.
Is it okay for you?
No problem.
We let the students prepare and come, sir. Let them study once again and come.
Yeah,
Is it okay, sir?
Correct. Yeah, sure.
So any doubts so far? Today we have
we will finish with any discussion
history.
related doubts are there. We will
Any
finish.
doubts?
Otherwise, we will continue.
Yeah. In management, investigation management, it's a big topic. We'll discuss separately with some differentials also, like GIST and other things. We'll discuss in another class separately. Okay. So any doubts so far? Sir, someone asking you, can epigastric hernia can present with similar complaints? Epigastric hernia?
No. Already he has mentioned that head raising and leg raising test. See, for others, I am telling Tanishq is a undergraduate, so I did not want to discourage while doing presentation. It was little not in order, so over the period he has to improve on the order. So all these things, whenever there is a mass, you should tell whether it is intraperitoneal, retroperitoneal, or muscular. So there only all these things will get cleared out. Okay. Then one more thing is, as I told, you should come very comfortably to the diagnosis. See, what I tell even in the exams to the students is, I will announce to the student, wherever you stop, I will ask questions. This is my general dialogue to the student. But what happens usually is, what I have noticed myself is, the student exactly stops wherever he is weak. That is the problem. See, when he is going in a flow, and whenever he is not so confident, he starts thinking, or he stops and he starts thinking that whether he has completed everything or anything like that. So that should not happen. Okay. And sometimes after 2 or 3 cases, what is the method of examination is, we will allow you to talk whatever you want. Even sometimes we will be talking with the co-examiners, and we will come back from the diagnosis. Like you already told carcinoma stomach, and you start from the history. What are the carcinoma stomach things you have got? So it is retrospective. It goes from this way to the history. So that is also a possibility. So you might be anywhere. And so the first fellow will generally will not get on that day. So usually he will get to present in the order what we proceeded today. But it cannot hold true for all the students. Any other doubts are there? I mean, somebody asked bilious or non-bilious. Whenever there is yellowish greenish tinge which is attached to the vomitus, we call it bilious. And there is no green at all. Whatever you ate and it came out, it is non-bilious. Altered resonant something.
Sir, let them prepare and come then for management part. We can ask question for them then.
Yeah, that is there. Yeah.
Is it okay, sir?
Yeah. Tanishq, are you there?
Okay.
Yes, sir, I'm there.
Yeah, you should little prepare better for the examination. Means you should, though you know it is an online class, although